So you become the VP of sales at Dickinson. Do you want to talk about that or no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, are you able to talk about
it? Yeah. You can sue me if you want to, but you're gonna lose. They are bad at what they do.
Back, just kind of have I like the normal conversations because I feel like the conversations that aren't recorded are usually the best conversations. And when you click the record button, sometimes I get this where it's I don't know, I start thinking more, I start overthinking stuff instead of just having a normal conversation.
Absolutely, everything's live. That's what we do.
Yeah, I mean I
like the awkward, embrace the chaos. That's what we're doing.
But I'm really fascinated, Matthew, to hear more about. So you sold a business.
Yeah, let's back up.
Let's back up.
So before 1980, the industry was generally unregulated.
Yes.
Sorry. It was heavily regulated.
Exactly.
Heavily regulated. So my father started in the business in 1976 with a company called Roadway.
Okay.
So Roadway, there was 3 trucking companies that mattered back before deregulation. It was Roadway, Yellow, and CF, Consolidated.
Your dad started Roadway?
No, he didn't start. That's where he began his career.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So my dad went to NIU. He worked at the farm before that. My grandfather had a fleet of trucks hauling grain. And my grandfather got polio after World War II, and he had to sell his entire business. Went bankrupt. He eventually reaffirmed every single debt that he had, but he ended up having to shut down his trucking company. But he could do maintenance because he was paralyzed from the waist down, but he could do certain things.
Yeah.
And my father was 8 years old when he began to fix equipment, whether it's trucks, whether it was farm equipment, but that's when he began turning wrenches.
Okay.
So as time went on, my father kind of knew the business of repair and maintenance. So he went to college at Northern Illinois University and got a degree. And in 1976, he got his first job with a big trucking company. That was Roadway.
Yeah.
He began working nights with union mechanics in Chicago Heights. That was what he did. And if you look around the industry today and you say, where did these people that are leaders, where did they come from?
Yeah.
They came from the Roadways, the Yellows, the CFs, UPS. So Dad was in Roadway, and 1980 comes around, and that's deregulation. Jimmy Carter signs a law that essentially is going to reduce the cost of goods, make everything cheaper, saving $8 billion a year. But how do you do that? It's by taking wages away from drivers, taking wages away from mechanics. It makes that anyone can open up a trucking company. The regulatory infrastructure for moving freight back in 1980, before 1980 deregulation, everything had a specific dollar amount, specific lanes. You didn't get to compete the way you do.
Yeah.
So fast forward about 15 years, and Dad leaves Roadway. He moved up into regional positions and district positions, running maintenance. But a company called Airborne says, we need someone to help us. Guy's name is Bill Simpson. He starts working with. My dog is very excited. But Airborne later became what's DHL now.
Okay.
And so he ran maintenance for independent contractors.
Did DHL buy out Airborne?
Yeah, they did. A big merger happened. So DHL buys them all. But my dad was there for about a year and a half. And then he saw the trend of outsourcing something. And what he saw was outsourcing fleet services.
Okay.
So he made a company called Outsource Fleet Services. And we started up as a captured garage for a company called RPS, Roadway Package Systems.
Okay.
So RPS became FedEx Ground.
Okay.
We were the largest partner of maintenance for FedEx Ground in the entire country.
Wow.
We had all of this.
What year was this at?
This would have been 1991 that we started.
1991. And you were how old?
I was 7 years old.
7 years old. Okay. Yeah. Do you remember any of this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I remember, we talk about entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And what the experience is for an entrepreneur, and the kids have an experience too. So I knew that my father had 4 children: Josh, Matt, Jackie, and Outsource Fleet Services. And Outsource's first location was Sacramento, California. We lived in Vernon Hills, Illinois.
Yeah.
He would drive from Vernon Hills to Sacramento every 2 weeks. He might be gone for 6 weeks at a time. To do that drive, he'd choose coffee beans. That's how he was able to stay awake and make that trip in 3 days. He would cruise to get down there. And that's the experience you have as an entrepreneur, because you throw everything into this thing. You are trying to make something for your family. So the memory is I remember it very well. It was hard, and it was hard for him to do it, but he grew that business, and we were in 6 different states.
Okay.
When I joined up with him in 2012, and we'll get to my history in a moment, but I got to work with him for 6 years. and I got to see what people in the industry thought about my father. I walked to the Technology Maintenance Council of the American Trucking Association. I see his friends. I see the people we've worked with. And that is such a blessing to get to know what your father does when people think about him. But that's how my genesis into like trucking generally. And then I get into my own little path as I go to undergrad and law school and all that.
Yeah. Okay. So 1991, what happened in 91 when you were 7?
He starts outsourced fleet service.
Okay. So 1991 starts outsourced fleet service. How many customers does he have? Like
1.
Okay. And that's FedEx Ground, what turned into FedEx Ground.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. So this is a good thing. So people think about FedEx, like the people come to your house. Are they employees? No, they're not. They're contractors. And we talk about AB5. It's a great example. This has been going on for 40 years.
So the FedEx employees that drop off packages are contractors?
That's right.
Okay, I thought they were employees. I know for Amazon, not for Amazon.
Only UPS.
UPS.
So
okay, UPS.
FedEx and Amazon looked at FedEx and said, "That's a good deal. We love that model." Yeah. The contractor, the provider, the dedicated service provider owns the trucks, owns the employees, does the benefits. All I have to do is FedEx or Amazon is pay you the contracted amount.
Sure.
And if it's over your cost, I could not care less.
Yeah.
If it's below your cost, I also don't care.
Yeah. Okay. So FedEx is their customer. And how did your father build the business?
So the business began with FedEx had on its property shops, but they didn't staff them. They had a contractor come in. So the FedEx Ground had a local manager who oversaw our operations. And my father didn't believe in marketing. If the customer came and said, "You're so good here, come do it there," that's how he grew the business. So FedEx came and said, "Okay, it's time for you to come to these other markets." And over time, he went to these new locations because his customer asked him to.
Okay.
That's how he took over all the state of California. I had over 100 mechanics at one point just turning wrenches on the trailers owned by FedEx Ground.
Okay. So can you tell me like more or less the story of your dad went from building the company to selling it. I love hearing like the stories of like, as the company grows, the revenue numbers, stuff like that. And like, my favorite podcast is My First Million with Sean Purdy and, what else was his name? Sam Park, the founder of The Hustle. What I love about them is they go into details about like these interesting businesses that like overall most people like when they think about making money, they know obviously, being a doctor, being maybe like an injury lawyer, there's definitely a few ways to make a lot of money from a degree perspective, but like when it comes down to business, there's so many fascinating businesses that are great businesses to run. And people don't even know that this would be potentially a good business to run. So can you tell us more about the details, like the ins and outs of the business and like the growing, like, and how big did it get?
Yeah. So we got to a place where we were running about $12 million of revenue.
Okay.
We had about over 100 employees, but to kind of talk about what got us to the point of selling, kind of talks about the point of what it's like to manage labor at scale. And so when I joined up with the company in 2012, I had been practicing law for 2 years and I represented trucking companies. That's what I did. I was representing trucking companies.
Yeah.
And when I joined, FedEx was 65% of our revenue.
Okay.
There's nothing you can do when one customer owns that much revenue. So my thinking became, okay, who else is like FedEx Ground? Who else is like a company that needs someone to help them maintain trucks and trailers?
Sure.
And many trucking companies, their core business is hauling freight. Yeah. Maintenance is an afterthought. That is not what their core competency is. So we began to penetrate really incredible trucking companies like UPS and Werner and Swift and Hunt. And before it became Heartland, Gordon Trucking, all these different companies, Pitt, Ohio, Dorn Transfer, all the trailer leasing companies, all of them had the same desire to control maintenance spend. Yeah. And so what we were really good at was coming in and saying, I know exactly how hard it is to do what you do. And no one loves your equipment more than you do. But I'm a close second. And I will give you all the information and the control that you need as an owner of the assets that you are running. Because we want you to safely deliver freight on time and undamaged. Mm-hmm. And as time went on, we grew the business into 6 different states. We were in California, we were in Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, Tennessee, Georgia, and Texas. These are the places we operated the business. But as time went on, it was harder and harder to find mechanics. And Dad, at the point, it was 2018, we were approached by a company called Dickinson Fleet Services. And they say, we see what you're trying to do. We know the path to growth. And we think that if we partnered together, we could unlock so much value for your customers and your employees. And we then made the calculus, like, do we want to make an exit? And I'm sorry about the dog. She's very excited. If we have to let her out, we'll figure that out. But we saw them with their sales pitch. We saw them with their flashy stuff. And we said, this might be a good partner.
Yeah.
And Dad was looking to make an exit. Now, I had seen, like, this is the part we don't talk about in business. When customers extend their credit line from net 45 to net 90, and you have to make payroll. You have to pay insurance. And you go to borrow money from your IRA because you cannot miss payroll or insurance. And when you have to do that as an owner, the toll that it takes on you, And then we had litigation in California. We could talk about that a little bit, but the cost of doing business in a state like California is really hard.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't fun the way that it used to be. Maintenance procurement changed. They put people in places that don't understand maintenance and say, let's reduce cost by $1 million, not realizing in 2 or 3 years, you're going to have a catastrophic event. So that kind of began the path of, do we make a sale? Okay. And Dickinson came and they had a good pitch, and we didn't do the process the way that I think we should have. We didn't run a process. We didn't go out and ask other people to invest or to look at the company. Okay. Dad's position had always been, he's the only one who controls that company. He doesn't want to have partners. It's only him and only him who can make that decision. So at the end of the day, he wanted to sell the business and get out of it. And that's what we ended up doing. In 2018, after a lot of things that we can get into, we made the deal. And he exited the business, and I went to that company that bought me. And I was a VP of sales for them for a year and a half.
So what were the revenue numbers when you got bought out?
We were sitting at about $12 million.
Okay, $12 million. Okay, okay. And then what did the multiple on
so that? This is a good thing. So let's talk about the way companies are bought and sold. Yeah. So if you buy stock of somebody, you're looking at a thing called an EBITDA, the earnings before interest, taxation, depreciation, amortization. Yeah. That is what you do with generally big deals. Big deals. Yeah. Most transactions that happen are what we call asset purchase agreements. They buy all of your assets. They buy your goodwill. There's not a multiple attached to these things. So in most transactions, these multiples that we see all the time in the news and the media, they're not actually happening. I mean, those ones are happening, but most deals don't go that way. So we were considered an industrial company, industrial maintenance. Had we taken a different tact and said maintenance as a mobile service is something different, because it absolutely is a different type of product. Sure. We probably could have gone the route of an actual merger or stock purchase agreement with multiples, because there are companies that are trading on 5-10 times earnings based on this valuation technique. Sure. But we sold it for an asset purchase agreement. And again, it was my dad's decision. It was a good deal. It got him very well taken care of. He is never going to have to work again in his life. He did a very good job for himself, but that's the nature of the business.
Sure. Okay, so you become the VP of sales at Dickinson. Do you want to talk about that or no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, are you able to talk?
Oh yeah. You can sue me if you want to, but you're gonna lose. They are bad at what they do.
Okay. So what were they doing beforehand? Like, what is the company Dickinson?
So Dickinson Fleet Services, and this is, I'm not trying to throw stones, but it will seem like I am. Okay. When you do maintenance for a company, you are the partner for them to control cost. You are actually there to help them grow their business. So when you talk about maintenance, it's different than what we might look at as like time and material, breakdown, or unplanned services. So the challenge that Dickinson ran into was the customers that they worked for were generally not as sophisticated as the types of companies that I brought to them. So my customer base was the top of the for hires, because I know exactly what they expect when it comes to maintenance. And if I can do it for FedEx, I can do it for Hunt, I can do it for Werner, because it's interchangeable in terms of the quality of the connections and the information. Sure. Dickinson mostly worked with private fleets. And most of those private fleets, and a private fleet, just to talk about the definition, is any company that has a fleet of vehicles, but moving freight is not their core competency. Okay. So the roofing company that has trucks that does roofing, that's a private fleet. So the challenge for someone like Dickinson is that their customer base is generally smaller than them. They don't do well with customers that are bigger than them. Now, they've done a lot of work to get better at this, but the churn rate for customers and the experiences that they have is horrifying. It's horrifying. I remember vividly getting emails all throughout the night, just like you would as a freight broker. What's the update? What's the update? What's the update? Did the mechanic show up? We have a vehicle looking to leave and we don't have a mechanic, and no one's answering the call center. So they're calling me.
Oh.
And I'll always answer the phone. I'll always pick up a thing for a customer because I love customers. But this is the challenge that they ran into, is that they'd make acquisitions. They would completely eviscerate the brand, destroy anything that was something that you could scale with or learn from. And then you'd be off in this wilderness of people that were unhappy. Oh my gosh, my customers were furious. Most of them left. Some of them stayed, but most of them left. Now presumably they've gotten better. They got bought by another big company, and Cox Automotive.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
So we were talking beforehand. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Where is Cox based out of?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. Okay.
Cox Automotive is a division of Cox Enterprises, which is a $22 billion privately held family company.
Wow.
They are the third largest provider of like internet and TV services. So think of Comcast, but privately held with no accountability for regulatory authority. Great business if you can have a monopoly. I mean, it's great for customers. They love monopolies. But the challenge for them is they buy Dickinson and they immediately realize they're in the same problems they had when I left them in 2019.
Yeah.
They weren't able to execute. So they come and they ask me, come work with us, help us fix it. And I said, sure, I know exactly how to fix it. And we gave them the roadmap, how you can change it, how you can get better. And they said, no, we don't want to do that. We have no interest in that.
Okay.
And that's why I ended up leaving them after just a few months.
So you're there from when to when?
I was there for 4 months, dude. I was there January through April. And then I was done.
Okay.
I didn't want to keep going.
Sure. And then you started the Armchair Attorney.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So when I left Dickinson originally, I had a non-competition agreement.
Yeah. And that was back in what year?
2019.
Okay. So you're there only for like a few months after they got acquired.
So what ended up happening I should be better with my timeline. So I'm at Outsource for 6 years, from 2012 to 2018.
Yeah.
Dickinson buys me. I'm there from 2018 to the very end of 2019 at Dickinson.
Got it.
To walk away, I gave up all of my shares, which I had. I gave up all of my benefits and accrue, all the things. I had a great package, but it wasn't good for my customers.
Okay.
And then I had the non-competition agreement. And most non-competes, controversial though they may be, I negotiated mine because I was selling a company. I was selling a business. I had to make sure that to make my dad's transaction happen, I had to sign something.
Yeah.
So I have to exit the business and I have to no longer help my customers, no longer deal with the technicians, the people that I'd worked with for so long. And I went into software. So I spent a year at a company called Decisive, and Decisive is a middleware. We call it layered application, but it's the communication platform from the OEMs talking to the dealer management software companies. Did that for a year. Then I went to VHub, which was another interesting sharing company.
You were at VHub.
I was. That's right.
Okay.
So VHub, yeah, you know that. That's good. That's a very good thing.
Yeah. They sponsor the Freight Coach.
They do. That's absolutely right. So
Yeah.
VHub is part of a business called Finlock 2000, which is an asset-based lender in Quebec.
Yeah.
They are the captured finance arm for Manac Trailer, so the 7th largest trailer OEM. That's a kind of sister company to Finlock.
Okay.
And VHub is an asset sharing platform. It's Airbnb for trailers.
I feel like VHub has like a difficult time though, like getting to brokerages. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah. So I mean, this is not directed at VHub specific. This is about the industry of sharing generally.
Okay.
So think of asset sharing as we think of as Airbnb.
Sure.
But imagine it's this way. You are calling on a shipper. Let's say it's an owner of trailers. Say, look, I want your freight or I want your additional trailers. And you say, okay, well, first of all, I don't trust you. I don't want to give it to you. But sure, if you say you can get this thing moved better than anybody else can, I'll give you a couple trailers to work with. Then you say, okay, well, I've convinced this person on the market. Now I have to go to the other side and say, who wants to borrow this? And also justify my fee. So these trailer leasing or trailer sharing companies, they're really competing with trailer leasing companies like an Extra or a Milestone or anyone else who has trailer capacity.
Sure.
And you look at someone like Landstar or even Convoy, they're going out to asset owners and saying, I'll lease directly from you. I'll give you $700 a month. Just give me your trailer.
Sure.
So the asset sharing companies have inserted a digital brokerage into renting equipment.
Yeah.
And the same problem with a brokerage when one person fails to perform. Oh, I thought I was going to get a 2021 Great Dane and it's actually a 2005 Wabash. This is not what I wanted. Same problem. So these platforms may raise money. They may look compelling on paper, but for me, long term, I see no viability for these marketplaces brokering equipment. I might be wrong, but I think over time, the asset rental companies that actually make a business of renting assets will outcompete with them.
So doesn't Penske do that? Like Penske does rentals, don't they?
Yeah. So Ryder has a competitive product, for example, to VHub. And so let's go through that. I love asset sharing. So you have Fluid Truck, who's backed by the investment arm of IKEA. They raised $63 million last year in a Series A. Crazy money. Yeah. But then you have Repower out of Chattanooga. I
heard of Repower.
Yeah, they're a direct competitor to VHub.
Okay.
Directly.
That makes sense. Now I understand it. Okay.
And then you have Coop. So Coop is Ryder's product. Coop is the same thing.
Yeah.
And they go out there and they're out there. Oh, we should make sure we're on timing. That's a good question.
12:13.
Oh, fantastic. So the challenge for these companies is they have to do the double sale. But Ryder's really powerful. Coop is Ryder's version of asset sharing, but Coop is not using the rental assets from Ryder. They're going to other people and saying, "Let me be your rental platform." Because if I was
smart, because they don't own it.
Exactly. Yeah. The whole idea is, how can I make money off of something that I don't?
It's like own? Airbnb. Airbnb doesn't own it.
I don't want the liability, but I want the profit.
So VHub owns the trailers?
No, they do not.
Oh, so VHub also runs.
So VHub also is going out and asking people for trailers.
Oh, okay. So VHub might be in a good position as well, potentially, since they don't own the trailer.
Well, that's the question. Like, do you have to provide value if you're going to be in the transaction, but own no risk and no liability for the deal? So again, you're basically
who's the winner here, Matthew? Who's gonna? Do you see a potential winner out of this?
Out of these people fighting?
Out of all these competitors,
I think the moment Turo decides they want to pivot into heavy duty, they're gonna win.
Who?
Turo. So Turo is a Turo. They're in passenger vehicles.
Okay.
But they're likely, I don't know if they've done it yet, but they're going to be going on an IPO relatively soon.
Are they successful?
I don't think any of them are successful.
I don't know. I don't think anyone would want to rent their own car.
No, but this is.
I've seen that. I saw like 6 years ago or 5 years ago. I'm like, I would never want someone to use my car and pay me $40 a day for that.
But here's what happens. So you think of the use case initiative, like me, I'm not using it. I'll let someone else borrow it. That sounds fine. Think about it this way. I own 10 cars and I want to make my own car rental company.
Sure.
So there's business opportunities to come in and say, I'm going to use this platform as my sales and marketing arm. And all I'm going to do is provide inventory. Sure. So there is a value there in that market. I think if you look at Repower and Coop and VHub, there's room for all three of them to be successful. I just don't know the customers need that. So you look at someone like Werner and making their trailer pool open to owner operators. JB Hunt 360, same idea. The ability to get drivers to come use your own trailers instead of putting them on a platform like VHub and say, okay, VHub, you find me drivers to use my trailers. So this is like the two-step set. You have to first get someone to say, here's the trailer. Then you got to say, someone please come and borrow it. Please use it. Give me money.
And then the owner operator has to go and get a load with an empty trailer, whereas JB Hunt, Werner, they might already have a loaded trailer.
Absolutely. You're hitting it right in the head there. I mean, you still have to, you can get the owner operator say, okay, this trailer is going in a direction I don't want to go. Yeah. Is there freight nearby? These platforms have no idea. They don't know. They don't care. They'd love to have integrations with DAT to provide, okay, here's where your load's going to be.
Sure.
But those big companies are like, we don't need you.
Okay. Did VHub raise money?
No.
No.
That's a thing we talk on offline. But I will say we had tried. So I was there to, in my version, was to spin the company off.
Sure.
And begun raising money.
When did you start at VHub?
I started there in January of 2021.
2021. Okay. Yeah. And you're not at VHub anymore.
No.
Okay.
So I was there for a year. It was a good experience. I really enjoyed it. But when the decision was made that we were not going to spin it off at the time, and maybe it still might happen someday, but it was decided that wasn't going to be, that transaction was going to happen. And so my long-term interests in the company weren't aligned.
Sure.
And so we moved on to something different.
Okay. Because like when the Freight Coach is sponsored by VHub, I'm just curious, like he's selling it to freight brokers to utilize VHub to find, is that what it is?
So if you look at that's a great question. The stuff that's traditionally advertised with the Freight Coach as it relates to VHub are what we call one-way trailers or potentially load-out trailers. Okay. So trailer sharing, the idea that everyone will combine their trailers into one place and everyone will be happy and use them, that is not going to happen. But what VHub does, they say, okay, you have a trailer in this market going this way, and you can't find someone to move it. give it to us. We'll tell you, who can move it for you, and you have to pay to have the trailer moved. So essentially, you are, as you're an owner operator, you get to find out, okay, here's a trailer that I can use, and they're going to pay me $1,000 to use it. So you have a timeline to use the business. This is called the one-way loadouts. It's the thing that you see Freight Coach talking about. The challenge is that no one wants to move those trailers.
I think it also, if they had like a volume in terms of like a lot of trailers available,
exactly,
people would be like more interested because they would see what's like, oh, you're going from LA to San Francisco. There's a trailer right here. You go pick up a load, get paid $500 from VHub for taking that trailer up there. That'll be a little bit different. If it's such a small network or a small fleet of trailers, it's difficult to pair up with.
Yeah, to make your processes all change just to support what might have a couple hundred assets in it.
Yeah.
No one's going to do that. Now, it's important for freight brokers to understand what technology does now and see, okay, that's the future coming.
Sure.
But it's still so new in this business.
That's really interesting.
I love the asset. Yeah. So, but to give you an example, so Cox calls it ACES. Daimler calls it CASE. And we'll talk about what those are. CASE stands for connected, autonomous, shared, and electric. These companies believe, and they're right to believe it, the future is going to be connected assets through telematics. That's why we see Four Kites and Project 44, so important players in the space. You see the autonomous. Like the biggest cost in trucking besides fuel is labor. Autonomous stuff helps reduce that. Shared. I don't want to own it. I want access to it. Everybody who rents or leases equipment wishes they could give it back when they don't want it anymore. So if I'm a leasing company, I want a 5-year deal with you. And you say, I have no idea what it's going to be like in 5 years.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because you can walk away with a rental or a shared asset. And the last one's electrification. If we don't have enough diesel, we have DEF, all the after treatment, all the maintenance. Electric vehicles have way fewer components. They're easier to maintain, all this sort of nonsense. So that's the future that is absolutely happening.
Yeah. Fascinating. So be help for 1 year. Beginning of this year, Cox calls you up. And then, could you tell us about that or no?
Yeah, I love it. The first week I get there, I go, okay, I'm director of the fleet marketplace. Okay. I love marketplaces. Think of Amazon, where you can sell and buy different things. It's amazing. But that wasn't what it was. Okay. It was a call center, a breakdown call center. And when you get someone like me who's like, I feel like I can kind of tell parts of the trends and the forces of the business. And I'm now looking at a call center that is one of the smallest in the business. And I can't get the leadership to kind of align with my vision of it. I say, this isn't going to work for me. I have to go. And that was in the first week.
Oh.
And they say, Matt, no, don't go. Just be patient. Let's just give it a little bit of time. I said, how much time do you want? And we looked at it about 3 months, 4 months. I said, let's give it a try. And I went down the path. The great team, great people. But at the end of the day, it was not a good fit. I did not align with leadership. Okay. And when you know this in a big company, they're very clear. Like, I'll give you an example. The first day I'm there, the first fucking day I'm there. Can I swear on your podcast?
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for everyone who thinks I don't swear very much. So I'm going to go on FreightWaves to talk about the apprenticeship program for truck drivers.
Okay.
And they say, Matt, did you go to the marketing department to get authorization? I said, no. Did you go to the legal team to get authorization to do this? I go, no. Well, you kind of need to do that to go speak publicly. I go, are you firing me? They say, no. Are you writing me up? No. So we're done. We're done with this conversation.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Like, you're not going to tell me I can't do the thing that I'm good at. Yeah. And this is just the idea of these big companies. They don't necessarily align with the individual in some cases.
You don't have freedom.
No, I needed it.
It's the worst. And like, especially as us, like entrepreneurs, like Spirit, like we can't have someone tell us we can't do something.
Oh, the minute you do that, it's like, oh, I hate everything.
Yeah, it's
burn
like,
it all down.
I'm for sure gonna do it now because you told me I can't do it.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was one of these big challenges, this cultural kind of clash. And again, this is a company that's over 100 years old.
Sure.
The people who run the business have been there for 30, 40 years.
They
have the people who run it are 4th or 5th generation people.
Yeah.
There was just no path for me in that business.
Sure.
Other than let's just eat your own individuality for the next 10, 15 years. And that wasn't going to make sense.
So this was in April. You left, started the Armchair Attorney.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Oh, I love the Armchair Attorney. So it began like any other really good business idea. Is the domain taken? So I went online and I looked up Armchair Attorney.
How many domains do you own?
Oh God, like a dozen.
I bought like 5 this week.
Oh, good for you. Funny story on domains. This is good to know. So before I joined VHub, I bought the domain VHub, VEEHUB.
Okay.
Because their domain is vhubapp.com.
Yeah.
And you can't have a business with the name app in it. You just can't.
Yeah.
And I fought really hard. Let's take this domain and we'll use it. And they said, no, we're fine with it. So I still own it.
VEEHUB is a great name.
Isn't it?
That's amazing.
It's a
lot better than vhubapp.com.
I was so smart. They didn't care. That's okay. It was a good experience.
How much buy it for?
I was like $10.
No way.
People have offered me $3,000 for it. I'm like, I might just call Coop or call Repower and say, hey, you guys want to buy a domain? You want to lease it from me? Oh, I'm thinking all the time.
That's
all the time.
Great.
So Armchair Attorney began as a consulting company. So what I did in a past life is help people do M&A. Like, how do you identify a company? How do you evaluate it? How does it fit into your strategic roadmap, the goals that you have? I said, I can do this as an individual. And my wife, my beautiful, amazing wife, Holly, was going to help me do it. So we're on the admin side of the business.
Yeah.
And when I left Cox, we found out we were pregnant. And 2 weeks later, we learned that it was twins. And so she's like, I'm not helping you with this. She still was helping, but we didn't have the bandwidth.
Sure.
And everybody who came to me, none of them wanted to talk about deals. They all wanted to talk about law. They all want to talk about legal problems, non-competes, business contracts, whatever. And as a lawyer, I can't do legal services through an entity that a non-lawyer owns. Okay. And so Armchair Attorney was a media company and consulting company with me and my wife as joint owners. And in Illinois, and you know this because you have an Illinois LLC, it's $250 to make an LLC. Yeah. To modify it, to amend it, it's $50. So I removed my wife as a managing member and equity holder of the company. So there's only one person, it's just Matt Leffler. And Armchair morphed into a law firm. So now all my legal work goes through Armchair Attorney LLC. I got the malpractice insurance. I filed with the court. I have all the things that you need. I have all the pieces of paper that say that I can do the things that I do. And Armchair became this communication platform about the law, but at its primary core, it is helping individuals and businesses understand legal concepts and opportunities to get a better business.
Sure. And so, like, who are your customers, clients right now? Like, not like I know you got some client.
Confidentiality.
Confidentiality. But so, could you tell us like which sectors? Trucking companies, brokerages. Who are you mostly like?
I work with amazing men and women. I work with amazing people that are thought leaders, that are personalities. I work with people that are businesses that are doing the blocking and tackling of all sorts of things in supply chain.
Okay.
So my law background, what my clients are, they touch supply chain somehow.
Okay.
Somehow they do.
Got it.
And that's the kind of people I like to work with.
Awesome. And then you just announced it today on LinkedIn.
I did.
Could you tell us about your new position?
Oh, I love it. Okay. So I wish I would have sold my business to Epica. First and foremost, they're a much better run organization. Let's talk about what they do. Epica Fleet Services is a repair and maintenance company.
Okay.
Now they grow two different ways, organically and inorganically. Organic growth is you have salespeople, you're converting clients, you're building up a team.
Sure.
Inorganic is I'm buying and selling. I'm not really selling, but I'm buying businesses in the business of repair and maintenance.
Okay.
So
you told me they own like 8 brands. How many?
Yeah. So we own about eight or nine brands. What we do is we buy a company like Deaton is a great example. We buy Deaton, CS Truck and Trailer Repair. The leadership team remains. The brand remains. But we change the back office. We bring you the sales and marketing support. We bring you the better benefits to attract and retain technicians. If you look at heavy duty truck and trailer maintenance and repair for class 6, 7, 8, and trailers, including tires, you have over $100 billion spent a year. That's billion with a B. This is big money. Yeah. And nobody owns more than 5% of that market. So as time goes on, the consolidation is happening. So you see Fleet Pride going out and buying companies. You see Cox going out and buying companies. Epica is in that business. We're a little bit further behind them. We're just starting off. Okay. But as of today, I believe it's about 150 employees. Okay. We were ranked 1,029 under Inc. 5000's fastest growing companies. I was in Nashville. I got the chance to meet with my new team. I got to meet with my correspondent, who you'll be meeting later today, Abby Haffenbrettel, which is fantastic. But that's what Epic is doing.
I've talked to Abby a few times.
She's awesome.
Yeah,
she's
great.
phenomenal.
Yeah,
she's phenomenal.
Yeah. We've talked on Zoom a couple times.
There you go. All right, I'm so excited. But this is what I'm doing. So I've been working for Epica now for about a month.
Okay.
But this is the day we've announced it. This is the day that we're saying, here's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to help run business development. I'm going to help develop the business. So if you're a maintenance and repair company and you're looking to make an exit, call me. I would love to talk with you. If you're a mechanic and you don't like your job or your boss, give me a call. I'll find a place for you to go. We're not big yet. We're still growing, but our main services are things like Lube Zone down in the Southeast. We are a quick oil, lube, and filter company. You bring your truck in like Jiffy Lube, boom, 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 you're out. 15, 20 minutes, tops, and you're gone. Yeah. So we are in this business of bringing value to fleets. And that's what Epic is all about.
Okay, amazing.
And the former COO of Dickinson, Joe Doherty, is now our CEO at Epica.
Okay.
So I know Joe. I like Joe. And the support from my former customers has been amazing. Just to look at the LinkedIn and see the people sending me private notes or the text messages is phenomenal. It makes me so happy.
You got to have a podcast studio here. This is like the perfect place for a podcast studio. I wish like the mic was right here. The 2 camera setup.
I think you're right.
Oh,
a little bit of bourbon or a little scotch.
Exactly.
Just have a good time. Absolutely. I don't know how. I haven't done it yet. I want to do that. I have these thick purple curtains, kind of like reminiscent of the Raven, and so I want to have like they can sound dampen things. It'd be fun. It'd be nice. It'd be good.
That's exciting.
One of these days.
So, what does your day-to-day look like now?
Whatever I want to do.
So.
Still
at Epic, I hear this.
No, at Epic. So this is one thing about this is okay. This is why I like Joe so much. So the strategy that Joe has for acquiring businesses of we keep the local brand, we let them do what they're good at, and we help them on the backside.
Yeah,
that's what they're doing with me too.
Okay.
I am a guy who likes to talk to people, learn about the business, research, and then talk to my friends and make conversions of people for different products and services. Sure. So I get to still I run my own calendar like I have for the past couple of months, years even. Yeah. And I am very excited for that. What it's going to look as time goes on is maybe some more travel, but a lot of it's going to be talking to my friends.
Did you drive down to Nashville?
I flew. I don't like flying, but I did fly. It was an hour flight.
Oh, yeah, no, it's
8-hour drive.
From O'Hare?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Cool. It
Cool.
was awesome. It was fantastic.
Nice.
I will say on the flight back, we had some turbulence and the stewardess had to sit on the ground because it was so bad. Nice. I was terrified. No, it wasn't nice. It's actually the opposite.
No, I said yikes.
Oh, yikes. Okay.
Yikes.
Nice. No, yes, it was terrifying.
No, that's not good. Oh, wow. It's fascinating, Matthew. It's great to know you.
I'm happy talking with you, dude. I'm a big fan. It's so Appreciate cool. That. Well, you send me a note and like what I find the same thing with a lot of, I call them creatives. Like you are a creative person. And so what you're doing now is you're just scratching the surface of what your creativity can do. And you don't know where you're going. You don't know where you're going to end up. But the thing that's so cool is like you're 29. You're so young, but you have this vision. And the world will conform to the vision that you've put out because you're that kind of a person. And so it is a blessing to have you here and to watch your ascent because we're watching an incredible ascent. So I just wanted you to know, like I
appreciate that, man. That's really kind of you. I don't know what to say. I'm flattered, but it's exciting time right now. That's definitely exciting.
There's opportunities. That's what's so cool.
Yeah, a lot of opportunities.
Absolutely. So tell me about FreightCaviar. Right. We're going to end it up.
No, we're not going to end up. I just wanted to shake your hand.
Well, what got you into doing it? What made you go FreightCaviar?
FreightCaviar? I mean, honestly, I just had knee surgery on my knee. I quit my job, and I actually had a few weeks between moving to Poland and being in Ukraine. So I had a few weeks in Ukraine where I was just hanging out, just kind of, well, not really. I was just chilling because I couldn't do a lot. Yeah. I was with my crutches, and I did actually end up going to the gym one day with my crutches, just doing an upper body workout, and I got in the Uber coming back to my apartment, and I'm like thinking like, I'm gonna start an Instagram account, and I'm gonna name it shipping. I'm gonna start it, and right now I'm gonna name it Shipping Pallets. So I just took out my phone and I created the Instagram account, Shipping Pallets, and I'm like, I'm gonna get 10,000 followers within 10 months. That was my goal. It was just, and I was like, here's a strategy behind it. There's this account, Detention Denied, and I Hate Freight. They make freight broker memes. They had like 12, 13,000 followers at that time. I'm like, I'm just going to follow all of their followers, and I'm going to create content.
There you go.
And I'm just there. Like, I had all day for a few weeks where I was doing nothing besides, like, making memes, like, creating videos. And, like, you know, in the beginning, you know, you'd get, like, 1 or 2 likes. You get 3 likes. You'd post some stupid stuff. And it was all, like, supposed to be funny content. And I don't know. I just, for some reason, ended up loving it. I'm not sure if it was a dopamine rush I got from, like, the likes or the follows. I'm like, let's keep doing this. And I ended up opening a brokerage like a month afterwards. And we had like a couple customers, and I was covering those loads. It was kind of slow. And then in between time, I was just spending time on FreightCaviar. I also opened up a restaurant, a fast food restaurant in Poland, which I'm closing down right now. I'm not.
That's a hard business to do.
Yeah, if anyone's considering ever opening up a restaurant, just don't do it. There are so many other interesting businesses to have, and a restaurant is not one of them. But I'm happy I did it.
You learned a lot.
I learned a ton.
Absolutely.
And even, you know, I opened the brokerage. I ended up closing it a few months later because, like
that probably sucks too.
The funny thing is I opened it, I closed one, then I opened another one. So I actually have opened and closed 2 brokerages and opened and closed 1 restaurant. And the funny thing is, I'm running FreightCaviar LLC right now. This is my business. This is my little baby. It's the only business that's 100% mine, and it's the only business which I love.
Yeah.
And it's the only business that I never thought would be a business that's that's my business. And there's a book that I read. Well, actually, I love Tim Ferriss, and he has this like book of mentors where he essentially wrote out snippets of all of his interviews that he's had in his podcast. It's like just written out, and like there's this one guy who's like really, really famous, or not like really famous, but he's known in the business world for creating, I think, like babycd.com. I forgot what it was. It's like somewhere where like an online retailer where you could sell CDs. But what the gist of it was that he was like, you shouldn't start a business unless you have people asking you to start a business.
Yeah, there you go.
And at FreightCaviar, I had companies come up to me and want to sponsor me. I'm like, wait, there has to be more companies that want to sponsor me. How do I turn this? How do I make a business out of this?
Exactly.
How to provide more value, be a good company, and grow it naturally, you know, bootstrap it.
Absolutely.
And that's where I'm at right now, where I'm like, wow, this is so fun. Like yesterday, me and my girlfriend spent like 4 hours creating like this whole media kit package, marketing kit.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's like, this is like, I could be doing this for 16 hours a day. And all I want is more time in the day.
It's not work. It's not work.
It's
a passion.
It's a passion.
Absolutely.
It's all I think about. It's all I dream about.
Oh my gosh.
It's all I have. And
that makes me so happy.
And it's amazing. And I'm so excited because I could make $3,000 a month doing this. Like, and I wouldn't go to a company that would be like, Paul, will pay you $15,000 to work for us, because I don't want to work for anyone. I want to do this
absolutely
and make whatever $3,000 a month, and I'm gonna be fine. I'll survive off of it, and
oh my gosh,
and I'm gonna love my life. It's because I'm sorry, I'm gonna rant right now. But
no, I do absolutely.
There's this great guy called Alex Hormozy. He's really gone into like he's kind of like the new Gary Vee online, but kind of like smarter and like I guess more business savvy kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he was talking about being financially free or no, financially what's the
independent?
Word? Independent, like or like being. He's like, it all boils down to like loving what you do. Because if you love what you do, it doesn't matter. Like if let's say you sell a business for $10 million because you just want to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. You wake up the next day and like you're like, that $10 million doesn't really mean anything to you. The business is what like.
I'm the same way. Like, I follow what's interesting and fun. And the minute it stops being fun, I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'll find something else to do.
Like you live once, right? It's
that's
like,
right.
Like we're going to be like supposed to be in an office, like draining ourselves with emails. And
I want an hour and a half commute every day. That's what I want. I want to be in the car for hours and hours and hours.
So, yeah, I mean, it's like, it's about having fun, you know, doing interesting stuff. And I think people that have fun are not, well, obviously more successful, but they're more passionate and they live a more fulfilling life. And it's like people that just chase after money. It's not going to lead to happiness. It's not.
I'm with you. We have to get you set up for something coming up in a moment. So we're gonna have to wrap this up. Everybody.
Let's do it. That was a great conversation. Thank you so much, Matthew. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily FreightCaviar Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, or if you didn't, leave a review. Let me know what you think. I appreciate any feedback. If you'd like to have more Freight Caviar content, go to FreightCaviar.com and subscribe to my email newsletter.